Good morning, students. Today we will be discussing with human digestion and absorption remaining portion. Let us continue the topic human digestion and absorption. In the last lecture, we have discussed digestion in the stomach, and the end product of the stomach digestion is chyme. Now the chyme slowly enters into the small intestine. Small intestine. Now we are going to discuss about digestion in the small intestine. In the small intestine, the chyme is thoroughly mixed up with different types of digestive juices like bile juice, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. The bile juice is produced by the liver, pancreatic juice produced by the pancreas, and intestinal juice produced by the succus entericus. It is nothing but a succus entericus produced by the intestinal glands. Intestinal glands. So, the muscular externa located on the wall of the small intestine can generate various kinds of movements which helps in thorough mixing up of the chyme with the bile, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice, thereby facilitate enzymatic activities. Then come to pancreatic juice. As I told you already, the pancreatic juice is a complete digestive juice. The pancreatic juice secretes mucus plus bicarbonates. The bicarbonates and mucus protects the wall of the intestinal mucosa from gastric acidic juice and thereby providing alkaline medium. Alkaline medium. The pH of intestinal juice is 7.8. This alkaline pH is optimal for enzymatic activities in the lumen of the small intestine. And duodenum. Duodenum also produces a large quantities of bicarbonates. Large quantities of bicarbonates. These bicarbonates neutralizes the remaining acidic contents in the lumen of the alimentary canal, thereby provides alkaline medium. Alkaline medium. And one more thing, the chyme exposed to the bicarbonates and bile juice, it becomes into neutral stage. It is acidic chyme. The acidic chyme exposed to bicarbonates of bile juice, and the bile juice converts the chyme into neutral state. Then the neutral state chyme exposed to the bicarbonates of pancreatic juice and become into alkaline state. In the stomach, the protein digestion occurs in the acidic medium, but whereas in the small intestine, the digestion of the food materials occurs in the alkaline medium. The reason is intestinal enzymes and pancreatic enzymes are very active in the alkaline state, nothing but a basic state. They become inactive in acidic state. That's why the acidic contents of the food must be neutralized by the bicarbonates. These bicarbonates are produced by the saliva, gastric juice, pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. Digestion of proteins. In the pancreatic juice, there are three inactive enzymes: procarboxypeptidase, trypsinogen, and chymotrypsinogen. Chymotrypsinogen. These are the inactive enzymes. The G and gen indicates its inactive form. Here pro also indicates inactive form. Here the pro is a prefix, but gen is a suffix. And these inactive enzymes must be converted into their active forms. Yeah, come to trypsinogen. Trypsinogen is an active enzyme which become into active trypsin by the action of enterokinase. Enterokinase is the enzyme activator produced by the duodenal mucosa. It is also referred as enteropeptidase. Enteropeptidase. The enteropeptidase is a proteolytic enzyme produced by the duodenal mucosa, which is also named as enterokinase. This is enzyme activator which is produced by the intestinal juice but activates enzyme of the pancreatic juice. Trypsinogen is converted into trypsin. This process is called as heterocatalysis. Heterocatalysis. And come to the next enzymes, procarboxypeptidase. Procarboxypeptidase and chymotrypsinogen. These inactive enzymes converted into active enzymes carboxypeptidase. Carboxypeptidase and chymotrypsin. Chymotrypsin by trypsin. Trypsin itself acts as enzyme activator, which activates inactive enzymes like procarboxypeptidase and chymotrypsinogen. It is chymotrypsinogen into active carboxypeptidase and chymotrypsin. And one more most important point, trypsin itself can similarly activate trypsinogen into trypsin. That process is named as autocatalysis. Trypsinogen itself can similarly activate trypsinogen into active trypsin by trypsin. This process is referred as autocatalysis. Autocatalysis. Proteins, proteases and peptones. These three are the contents of acidic chyme of the stomach, slowly reaching the lumen of the small intestine, and these are acted upon by enzymes of both pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. The enzymes of pancreatic juice and intestinal juice acts on these substances only in the alkaline medium. Only in the alkaline medium. What is the optimal pH? 7.8. 7.8 is the optimal pH for the enzymatic activities. Now these proteins, proteases. You know, peptones are the partially digested proteins which are present in the chyme. Proteases and peptones. These three are acted upon by trypsin, chymotrypsin, and carboxypeptidase. Trypsino, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase are the proteolytic enzymes of pancreatic juice. Along with these enzymes, one more enzyme, that is aminopeptidase. This aminopeptidase is the intestinal proteolytic enzyme, and these four enzymes acts on proteins, proteases and peptones, converts them into tripeptides plus dipeptides. Now these tripeptides acted upon by tripeptidases. Tripeptidases into dipeptides plus amino acids. And these dipeptides are acted upon by dipeptidases and converts them into amino acids. Tripeptidases, dipeptidases and aminopeptidase. These are the enzymes of intestinal juice, enzymes of succus entericus, but trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase are the enzymes of a pancreatic juice, but all are proteolytic enzymes. Thus, the amino acids are produced at the end of the protein digestion in the lumen of the small intestine. So, with this protein digestion is completed. What are the end products? Amino acids. Next, digestion of fats. Protein digestion is over. Come to digestion of the fats. Fat digestion starts with emulsification. Emulsification. Emulsification process occurs by bile salts. That is the reason why these bile salts are named as or referred as lipid emulsifiers. Lipid emulsifiers. What is meant by emulsification? During emulsification, the large fat globules are converted into short fat globules named as micelles. Micelles are the small fat globules which are the end products of emulsification. So, bile salts play a vital role in the emulsification of the fats. If bile salts are absent, there is no digestion of the fats. Because if there is no emulsification, no digestion of the fats, bile salts in turn activates lipid digesting enzymes like a pancreatic lipase and intestinal lipase. So, intestinal lipase, pancreatic lipase also in turn activated by the bile salts. Then only the lipases can act on emulsified fats. Come to fat digestion. Large fat globules converted into small fat globules by bile salts. There are two important bile salts, glycocholates and taurocholates of sodium and potassium. I told you already in the liver itself, functions of the liver. So, bile salts are produced from the cholic acid, as I told you already. Cholic acid is the bile acid synthesized by the liver. So, these bile salts convert the large fat globules into small fat globules, which are in turn converted into long chain of fatty acids, again by bile salts. These are the lipid droplets. Lipid droplets. And these long chain fatty acids are converted into short chain fatty acids by lipase enzyme. Lipase, particularly pancreatic lipase, is nothing but a steaopsin. The steaopsin is the strongest lipase produced by the pancreatic juice. Now the short chain fatty acids converted into triglycerides. Triglycerides are the true fats, triglycerides by lipase. Now the triglycerides converted into diglycerides, again by lipase. Diglycerides converted into monoglycerides. Monoglycerides, again by lipase. Now the monoglycerides converted into fatty acids. Fatty acids plus glycerol, again by lipase enzyme. So, lipase enzyme acts on fats, particularly they act on emulsified fats. So, this is lipid digestion. First of all, the bile salts converts the normal fats into emulsified fats. These emulsified fats are nothing but small fat globules, which are acted upon by bile salts to convert them into long chain fatty acids. These long chain fatty acids are lipid droplets. Then these long chain fatty acids are converted into short chain fatty acids by lipase enzyme, which in turn converted into triglycerides, then into diglycerides, monoglycerides, and finally fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerol are the end products of fat digestion, which are formed in the lumen of the small intestine. Then digestion of carbohydrates. Digestion of carbohydrates. Carbohydrate digestion initiated in the mouth itself. 30% of the starch. 30% of the starch is digested in the buccal cavity by salivary amylase enzyme. The remaining part of the starch is digested in the lumen of the small intestine. Now the digestion, come to the digestion of the carbohydrates. Pancreatic amylase. Pancreatic amylase. The pancreatic amylase converts the carbohydrates into disaccharides. Disaccharides are the end products of carbohydrate digestion by the pancreatic amylase enzyme. Disaccharides are of three types: maltase, sucrase, and lactase. Now these disaccharides, like maltose, acted upon by intestinal amylase. Amylase is a it is a carbohydrate digesting enzyme. Now the maltose converted into glucose plus glucose by maltase enzyme. Maltase. Now come to sucrose. Sucrose is the cane sugar, which is converted into glucose plus fructose by sucrase enzyme. Sucrase is also named as invertase. It is also named as invertase. And come to last one, lactose. Lactose is the milk sugar. It is converted into glucose plus galactose by lactase enzyme. Maltase, sucrase, lactase, these are generally referred as breast-bordered enzymes, also named as disaccharidases, which are the enzymes of intestinal juice. These breast-bordered enzymes act on disaccharides. Disaccharides are the end products of carbohydrate digestion by pancreatic amylase. In turn, these disaccharides are acted upon by disaccharidases of intestinal juice like maltase, sucrase, lactase. So thereby the end products of carbohydrate digestion like glucose, fructose and galactose are produced in the lumen of the small intestine at 7.8 pH. So alkaline pH is required for the digestion of proteins, fats and carbohydrates in the lumen of the small intestine, but not acidic pH. Digestion of nucleic acids like DNA and RNA. But which DNA, RNA are digested? Our own DNA, RNA? No. The DNA, RNA of food materials are digested by the nucleases and nucleotidases and nucleosidases. Nucleases are of two types: RNA-ase and DNA-ase. These nucleases are produced by pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice. And nucleotidases and nucleosidases are the intestinal, produced by the intestinal juice. Come to digestion of the nucleases, nucleic acids, RNA and DNA are acted upon by RNase. RNA means ribonuclease and DNA is deoxyribonuclease and convert them into nucleotides. And these nucleotides acted upon by nucleotidases. And convert them into nucleosides plus phosphates. And these nucleosides are acted upon by nucleosidases and converts them into pentose sugar plus nitrogen bases. So like this, the nucleic acids are digested by the enzymes of both the pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. So DNase, RNase acts on DNA and RNA, converts them into nucleotides, and these nucleotides are acted upon by nucleotidases, converts them into nucleosides and phosphates. And then these nucleosides are acted upon by nucleosidases and converts them into pentose sugar plus nitrogen bases. The nitrogen bases are of two types, purines and pyrimidines, adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine, like that. And so like this, the end products are produced in the lumen of the small intestine. But remember, nucleotidases and nucleosidases are the enzymes of intestinal juice, but nucleases are the enzymes of a pancreatic juice. So like this, nucleic acids digestion also over in the lumen of the small intestine. Chyme is the end product of stomach digestion. It is a partially digested acidic food. And come to chyle. Chyle produced in the small intestine, which is completely digested, alkaline in state. Chyme is a partially digested acidic in state, but chyle is completely digested and alkaline in state. Thus, the biomacromolecules of food are digested in the duodenum of small intestine, which occurs very close to the mucosal epithelial cells. But the absorption of the simple substances takes place in the jejunum and ileum part of small intestine. Very important point from NCERT. The biomacromolecules like carbohydrates, proteins and fats are digested in the duodenal region, which occurs very close to the intestinal mucosal epithelial cells. But absorption occurs in the jejunum and ileum of small intestine. Then come to intestinal villi. What are intestinal villi and where do we find these intestinal villi? In the alimentary canal. Intestinal villi are small finger-like. These are small finger-like projections on the wall of small intestine. Come to the diagram. So intestinal villi are the finger-like projections on the intestinal mucosa. The villi are lined with simple columnar epithelium. These are the columnar epithelial cells. villi lined by simple columnar epithelium. In the columnar epithelium, long and cylindrical cells are present. These columnar epithelial cells having breast border appearance. The breast bordered appearance is called as a microvilli. Like this, breast bordered appearance is present. Nothing but a microvilli. Now the villi plus microvilli increases area of absorption, increases the surface area of absorption of the small intestine. And each villi supplied with both blood capillaries and lymph capillaries. But villi supplied with a large lymph capillary. It is supplied with a large lymph capillary. Single lymph capillary is present. Yeah. So the lymph capillary supplied to the each villi is named as a lacteal. Lacteal. Lacteal is a part of lymphatic system. It is a part of lymphatic system. Along with the lymph capillary, the villi are also supplied with blood vessels. Also supplied with blood vessels like veins and arteries. Veins and arteries. Yeah. So between the venules and arterioles, there are capillaries. Venules and arterioles, there are capillaries. The diagram is given in NCERT also. So this is arteriole and this is venule. So arteriole and venule also lies very close to the lymph capillary. So the villi has only single large lymph capillary which is named as lacteal, which is a part of lymphatic system. Why the villi is supplied with both blood capillaries and lymph capillaries? The most important point is the amino acids and glucose are absorbed into the blood capillaries, whereas fatty acids and glycerol are absorbed into the lymph capillaries. The reason is fatty acids and glycerol being insoluble in water, that too they are large in size, so they cannot absorb into the blood capillaries. So they can absorb into the lymph capillaries. Fatty acids are absorbed into the lymph capillaries, glucose and amino acids are absorbed into the blood capillaries. So it is a sectional view of a small intestine to showing intestinal villi. At the basis of the intestinal villi, there are crypts of Leberkuhn. These are the crypts of Leberkuhn. Crypts of Leberkuhn are the intestinal glands. They secrete succus entericus. But these crypts of Leberkuhn located at the basis of the intestinal villi. Yeah, this is the importance of the villi. Villi are the finger-like projections on the wall of the small intestine. Columnar epithelium. Yeah. Come to peristalsis. What is peristalsis? Why the peristalsis is required? Peristalsis involves contraction and relaxation. It involves a contraction and relaxation of muscle layers present on the wall of the gut. They show continuous wavy-like movements throughout the gut and helps in propulsion of the food materials through various parts of the alimentary canal, thereby facilitates enzymatic activities. So peristalsis is the wavy-like movements produced by the muscularis externa located on the wall of the gut. The main important thing regarding peristalsis is which propel the food, means which pushes the food in forward direction from one part to another part. Come to bolus. The bolus produced in the buccal cavity or oral cavity. From the buccal cavity, the food is conveyed into the pharynx. From the pharynx, the food is swallowed into esophagus. As I told you already, esophagus is a thin long tube-like structure. So from the esophagus, the bolus is conveyed further by the continuous waves of contractions. These continuous waves of contractions are nothing but peristaltic movements. Peristalsis begins from the esophagus itself and continued up to the rectum. Continued up to the rectum, begins from the esophagus and continued up to the rectum. And come to the stomach. Inside the stomach, the peristaltic movements are nothing but churning movements. Churning movements. The churning movements are nothing but a mechanical digestion. The peristaltic movements of the stomach are so powerful because there are three kinds of muscle layers on the wall of the stomach. Outer longitudinal, middle circular and inner oblique layer. So the peristaltic movements are nothing but churning movements are so powerful in the stomach. But in the intestine, the peristaltic movements are very slow. Even though the peristalsis propel the food in forward direction, there are some sphincters. Various kinds of sphincters associated with the alimentary canal, like sphincter, yani internal. Second one, ileocecal sphincter. Ileocecal sphincter. Cardiac sphincter, third one. Cardiac sphincter. And the fourth one, pyloric sphincter. And the fifth one is sphincter of Oddi. So these are the 5 sphincters associated with the alimentary canal. These sphincters regulates the passage of food through different parts of the alimentary canal. So the food is slowly propelled from esophagus into the stomach and stomach to the small intestine. And come to parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic nervous system is a branch of autonomic nervous system which increases the peristaltic contractions and thereby relaxes the sphincters, which increases the peristaltic contractions of the gut and relaxes the sphincters. So the food slowly moves from one part to another part of the alimentary canal. Yeah, this is about peristalsis. Previously, we have studied various functions of alimentary canal. The alimentary canal associated with 5 functions. First thing is ingestion of the food. And second thing is swallowing, deglutition. And the third one is digestion. And the next function is absorption. And finally, egestion. So already 3 functions over: ingestion, deglutition, and digestion is over. And the next function is absorption. Absorption of digested food materials. What is meant by absorption? Absorption is the process by which the end products of the digestion are absorbed through the mucosa of small intestine. Absorbed through the mucosa of small intestine. Mucosa of small intestine into either blood or lymph. As I told you already, the wall of the villi is supplied with both blood capillaries and lymph capillaries. So the digested end products are absorbed either into blood or into lymph through intestinal mucosa. The mucosal epithelial cells of small intestine are named as enterocytes. Enterocytes. The process of absorption is facilitated by 3 processes. One is passive, active, and facilitated transport. Facilitated transport. So it occurs by 3 methods: passive transport, active transport and facilitated transport. Come to the some of the substances like monosaccharides. Monosaccharides like glucose, amino acids and certain carrier ions like chloride ions. So chloride ions, amino acids and monosaccharides like glucose are absorbed by simple diffusion. The simple diffusion is a passive transport. It is a passive transport for absorption of these molecules by simple diffusion. Does not require energy because it depends on a concentration gradient from higher concentration to lower concentration. Come to the next thing, certain substances like glucose, fructose, and amino acids are transported by a method called as a facilitated transport. But here the absorption of these substances like glucose, fructose, amino acids occurs by certain carrier proteins. Certain carrier proteins like GLUT, GLUT4. What is meant by GLUT4? Glucose transporter. It is a glucose transporter 4. It is a transmembrane integral protein naturally located on the cell membrane of the cells. So certain substances like glucose, fructose, amino acids are transported via certain carrier proteins like GLUT4. What is meant by facilitated transport? The facilitated transport also a kind of a passive method. Passive transport. It do not depend on concentration gradient. Very important thing, remember. It do not depend on concentration gradient, but it is a passive transport because it occurs by certain carrier proteins which are located on the biological membranes of the cells. What is meant by facilitated transport? Facilitated transport is the process of a passive transport like ions across the biological membranes with the help of transmembrane integral proteins like GLUT4. And the next thing is water. Water absorption depends on osmotic gradient. Osmotic gradient. What is meant by osmotic gradient? It depends on concentration gradient. Water always moving from higher level to lower level. So its absorption depends on osmotic gradient or dependent on concentration gradient. And the fourth method is active transport. Active transport occurs against the concentration gradient. But simple diffusion occurs via concentration gradient, but it occurs against the concentration gradient. So it requires energy. It requires energy in the form of ATP. Which substances are transported by active method? Monosaccharides like again glucose, certain amino acids, and ions like Na+. Ions like Na+, amino acids and glucose are transported especially by the active transport. Active transport occurs against the concentration gradient, so it requires energy. So these are the different types of methods play vital role in the absorption of various components of end products of the digestion. Once again I am revising absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. Fatty acids and glycerol being insoluble in water, that too they are large in size, they cannot be absorbed into the blood capillaries, but they can absorb into lymph but amino acids and glucose are directly absorbed into the blood because they are soluble in water. So come to absorption of how the fatty acids and glycerol are absorbed into the lymph capillaries. First of all, these fatty acids and glycerol are converted into micelles. Micelles are the small fat globules. Micelles, it is a combination. It is a combination of fatty acids plus monoacyl glycerols. Monoacyl glycerol plus bile salts. So, fatty acids and glycerol are first incorporated or converted into micelles. Now these micelles enters into the mucosal epithelial cells, which are nothing but enterocytes. In the enterocytes, these micelles enters into the enterocytes. So then in the enterocytes they are converted into chylomicrons. What are chylomicrons? A very important point. Chylomicrons are the protein coated. These are protein coated fat globules. Protein coated fat globules. Then these chylomicrons from the enterocytes absorbed into the lacteal. Lacteal is a lymph capillary. It is a part of lymphatic system. Now the lacteal is a lymph capillary. Now the lymph capillary unite and form a lymphatic vessel. Lymphatic vessel. Now the lymphatic vessels unite and form lymphatic duct like thoracic duct. Thoracic duct. You know, thoracic duct is the largest lymphatic duct. Now the thoracic duct drains out its contents into the left subclavian vein. Left subclavian vein. You know, left subclavian vein, it is a part of venous system. Vein, it is a vein which supplies blood, which collects blood from the arms. So like this, the fatty acids and glycerol in the form of chylomicrons are released into the blood circulation once again. So here lymphatic system drains out its contents into the venous system. So thus the lymphatic system acts as a bridge between tissues and blood. Left subclavian vein, it is a part of venous system. In the venous system, chylomicrons are the protein coated fat globules. These chylomicrons are acted upon by lipoprotein lipase enzyme. This lipoprotein lipase enzyme present in the endothelial walls of blood capillaries. Now these chylomicrons are finally converted into fatty acids plus glycerol. Now these fatty acids and glycerol via blood circulation carried towards the liver and adipose tissue where these are stored as a neutral fat or tissue fat. So like this, the absorption of fatty acids and glycerol takes place. This is the way for the absorption of fatty acids and glycerol. One important point I forgot to teach. You know, chylomicrons from the enterocytes are absorbed into the lacteal by exocytosis process. What is meant by exocytosis? Exocytosis means it is a process. It is a process by which the contents of the cell are carried out to the exterior. Means from the enterocytes into lymph capillary. Lymph capillary is nothing but lacteal. Now I am going to explain the process of absorption diagrammatically. Yeah, this is intestinal mucosa. The intestinal mucosa made of enterocytes. These are also named as mucocytes. Enterocytes are mucocytes and these are villi. These are villi. And this is lumen of small intestine. Lumen of small intestine. In the lumen of the small intestine, the process of digestion takes place. Yeah, this is a protein chain. Protein chain is made of with long polypeptide chains. So these are the proteins. These proteins in the lumen of the alimentary canal converted into amino acids. These are amino acids. So like this, a protein digestion is completed. Next come to carbohydrates. The carbohydrates, particular polysaccharides, are made of with number of monosaccharides. Yeah, this is a carbohydrate. Carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the complex molecules. They are made of with number of monosaccharides like glucose. Now, the bond between the glucose molecules are the glycosidic bonds. They are hydrolyzed by the enzymes and convert them into monosaccharides. Monosaccharides like this. Monosaccharides. Monosaccharides. All these components are formed in the lumen of the small intestine. But then the end products of the proteins, the end products of the carbohydrates are absorbed into the mucocytes or enterocytes like this. Like this. Later, they absorbed into the blood capillaries. Blood capillaries like this. So they absorbed into the blood capillaries. Yeah, like this. So like this, absorption of amino acids and glucose takes place. And one more thing is remaining, that is fatty acids and glycerol. Now these are triglycerides. Triglycerides. These triglycerides are acted upon by bile salts. Bile salts like this, and converts them into monoglycerides. Monoglycerides. Now these monoglycerides are absorbed into the enterocytes or mucocytes of intestinal mucosa like this. Inside the enterocytes, these monoglycerides are converted into chylomicrons. Chylomicrons. Now these chylomicrons, this is Golgi complex. Now these chylomicrons are absorbed into the, what are these? These are lymph capillaries. Lymph capillaries by exocytosis process. So this diagram clearly explains how the absorption of carbohydrates, particularly glucose, amino acids and fatty acids takes place from the lumen of the alimentary canal into the enterocytes, thereby into blood capillaries and lymph capillaries. Students, please go through the video. I think you are watching videos. You know, these videos will not be available in future. So if you miss the video, you miss forever. So while you are watching video, please note down important points on running notes, not on paper. Many people are writing on paper and submitting. That is not good way. So better to keep separate running notes. If you put down on paper, it will be with you for future use also. Thank you.